Good morning, children. Welcome back to the same chapter, haloalkanes and haloarenes. In today's class, we are going to discuss about polyhalogen compounds. In today's class, we are going to discuss about polyhalogen compounds. Now, what are polyhalogen compounds? Polyhalogen compounds are those carbon compounds. Polyhalogen compounds are those carbon compounds containing more than one halogen as a polyhalogen compound. Many of these compounds are useful in industry. So our first study of the polyhalogen compound is methylene chloride, which is also commonly called as dichloromethane. So our first study we are having methylene chloride, that is commonly called as dichloromethane. It is prepared industrially by the direct combination of methane with Cl2 gas. So we have methane that is made to react with chlorine gas in presence of sunlight. We are getting CH2Cl2 plus HCl. So the first common polyhalogen compound we are going to study today is methylene chloride, which is also called as dichloromethane. It is prepared industrially by the direct chlorination of methane, that is CH4 plus Cl2 in presence of UV light. We get CH2Cl2 plus HCl. Uses: it is an effective solvent used in pharmaceutical and food industry. It is an effective solvent used in pharmaceutical industry and also in the food industry. After that, the next polyhalogen compound we have is chloromethane, whose IUPAC name is 1,1,1-trichloromethane. 1,1,1-trichloromethane. It is manufactured by the chlorination of methane followed by separation by fractional distillation. We have methane that is made to react with chlorine in presence of UV sunlight. We are getting CHCl3 plus thrice HCl. We are just reacting methane in presence of chlorine in presence of UV sunlight. We are getting CHCl3 plus thrice HCl. Now, properties: it is a sweet smelling liquid with a boiling point of 61 degrees Celsius. It is a sweet smelling liquid with a boiling point of 61 degrees Celsius. It is stored in dark colored bottles because it gets oxidized in the presence of sunlight to form a poisonous gas called phosgene. And the chemical formula of phosgene is COCl2. So just remember one thing, children, that it is always been instructed to store chloroform in dark colored bottles away from direct sunlight, because if it comes in direct sunlight, it gets changed to phosgene, COCl2. So CHCl3 plus oxygen in presence of sunlight, we get COCl2 plus HCl. It is therefore stored in closed dark colored bottles, completely filled. So that, see, in this reaction, two important characteristics we note. And what are the characteristics? The first characteristic is there should not be the presence of sunlight, and the second characteristic is that there should not be the presence of oxygen. So it is therefore stored in a closed dark colored bottle, completely filled, so that air is kept out. If even 1% ethanol is at times added, so that it can convert again phosgene to diethyl carbonate, which is non-volatile and which is non-toxic. At times it so happens that if the chloroform bottle is partially filled and if it comes in direct sunlight, it actually gets changed into phosgene, COCl10. Surprising, you should know that phosgene is highly poisonous. Phosgene is highly poisonous. So in order to prevent the conversion of chloroform into phosgene, we add a small amount of ethanol. When ethanol is added to phosgene, it changes into diethyl carbonate plus HCl. Uses: it is widely used in the industry as a solvent for fats, wax, resins and rubber. That is the most important use. That is, in the solvent industry, we use it as a solvent for fats, for wax, for resins, for rubber, etc. It is once used as an anesthetic agent in the sugary and as a flavoring agent and in cough syrup. Now it is not used because it forms phosgene gas, which is poisonous. It used phosgene gas because it is poisonous. So the important disadvantage of using chloroform as a anesthetic is that at times it might form phosgene, and phosgene is highly poisonous. Now we have the next one is triiodomethane, or which is called as iodoform, CHI3. Iodoform is prepared by the action of iodine and alkali on ethyl alcohol or acetone. The reactions involved in the preparation of iodoform from ethyl alcohol are as follows. We have sodium hydroxide plus iodine, NaI plus NaOI plus water. We have NaI, NaOI plus water. Okay, so we have this reaction sodium hydroxide plus iodine, NaOI plus NaI plus water. Now when ethyl alcohol is made to react with NaOI, by the help of oxidation process we get CH3CH4. So you could see the reaction that in the first step sodium hydroxide reacts with iodine to give you sodium iodide and sodium hypoiodide plus water. Now in the second reaction we have ethyl alcohol that is made to react with NaOI. By oxidation it changes to CH3CHO, NaI plus water. Now the CH3CHO with NaOI, on iodination it forms iodal plus NaOH. This iodal that is formed further reacts with sodium hydroxide on hydrolysis, that is changed into iodoform and sodium formate. So in this way we are getting iodoform, which is actually called 1,1,1-triiodomethane. Now the complete reaction may be written when we add up all these steps. The final reaction we actually get it in this way, that in the final reaction we have, that is our ethyl alcohol plus 4 molecules of iodine plus 6 molecules of NaOH, that gives CHI3 plus sodium formate plus NaI plus water. This is how the reaction proceeds. After the children, one important thing that I want to mention is that, however, when sodium carbonate is used in place of sodium hydroxide, then the complete reaction may be written as follows. That is the same reaction, but in this reaction, instead of sodium hydroxide, we take sodium carbonate. So we have ethyl alcohol that is made to react iodine in presence of sodium carbonate. We get CHI3 plus NaI plus sodium formate plus carbon dioxide plus water. So the reactions involved in the preparation of iodoform from acetone are as follows. Now how does the reaction proceed? The reaction proceeds like this. We have CH3COCH3 plus NaOI. We get Cl3 C double bond OCH3 plus thrice NaOH. In this way the whole reaction actually proceeds. Yes, now after all, the next reaction we have is Cl3 C double bond OCH3, that is made to react with sodium hydroxide. We get iodoform and sodium acetate as one of the byproduct. Now the reaction of iodine with sodium hydroxide or iodine and sodium carbonate to give yellow precipitate of iodoform is called as iodoform reaction. This is called as iodoform reaction. So overall the reaction is, we have acetaldehyde that is made to react iodine. In presence of NaOH, we actually get CHI3, sodium formate, NaI plus water. In this way the reaction proceeds. After that we have propan-2-ol that is made to iodine plus NaOH. We have CHI3, CH3CONa plus NaI plus water. Now we have CH3COCH, that is we have propanol and acetone. That can also be made to react with iodine in presence of NaOH. We get CHI3, sodium acetate, NaI plus water. Now we have butan-2-on plus iodine plus NaOH, CHI3 plus CH3CH2CONa, that is we get sodium propanoate plus NaI plus water. So these are all the reactions by which we can see that iodoform can be produced. Ultimately what is the reaction? Either we take acetaldehyde or we take alcohol or we take a ketone, and ultimately this is how the reaction proceeds. Okay, now we will discuss about physical properties of iodoform. Physical properties of iodoform is that iodoform is a yellow colored solid having a melting point of 392 Kelvin. It is insoluble in water but dissolves readily in organic solvent. So obviously it is a yellow colored solid having a melting point of 392 Kelvin. It is insoluble in water but dissolves readily in organic solvents. After that uses, it is used as an antiseptic for the dressing of wounds. The haloform reaction is commonly used to distinguish between methyl ketone or methyl carbonyl and ketones and alcohols. So that was about the third polyhydrocarbon. polyhalogen compound that we have discussed. After that, we have next set of halogen compound that we'll discuss. Okay children, now we are back to the next polyhalogen carbon tetrachloride, that is tetrachloromethane. It is prepared by the chlorination of methane and by the action of chlorine on CH2 in the presence of aluminium chloride as a catalyst. So just check this reaction. In this reaction we have CH2 that is made to react with Cl2 in presence of AlCl3, and on heating we get carbon tetrachloride and S2Cl2, that is sulfur monochloride. Next reaction we have methane that is made to react with Cl2, we get carbon tetrachloride plus HCl. Now the properties: carbon tetrachloride is a colorless liquid with the boiling point of 350 Kelvin. It has a sticky smell. Next is the uses. It is produced in large quantities for the use in the manufacture of refrigerants and as propellants for the aerosol can. It is also used as a feedstock in the synthesis of chlorofluorocarbon and other chemicals, pharmaceutical manufacturing, and generally used as a solvent. There is some evidence that exposure to carbon tetrachloride causes liver cancer in humans. The most common effects are dizziness, light headache, nausea, and vomiting, which can cause the permanent damage to nerve cells. Now, when carbon tetrachloride is released into the air, it rises to the atmosphere and depletes the ozone layer. That is one of the greatest disadvantage of carbon tetrachloride. So, it is produced in large quantities for use in the manufacture of refrigerants and propellants. For the aerosol can, is also used as a feedback in the synthesis of chlorofluorocarbon and other chemicals. After the next polyhalogen compound we have is freon. Now this freon is a chlorofluorocarbon compound of methane and ethane are collectively called as freon. So it is manufactured simply by taking carbon tetrachloride by the process called Schwartz reaction. We have already discussed Schwartz reactions when we were discussing the types of chemical reaction of the property. Now in this we have carbon tetrachloride that is made to react with SbF3, that is antimony trichloride, and on heating in the presence of SbCl3 we get CCl2F2, which is actually called as freon. Freon is a commercial name and is SbCl3. Now its properties is dichloro-difluoromethane CCl2F2, or that is called as freon 12, is one of the most common freon in the industrial use. They are extremely stable, unreactive, non-toxic, non-corrosive, and actually it is a type of liquefiable gases. Okay, that is some of the properties of freon. I am repeating the properties once again. That is dichloro-difluoromethane, or that is called as freon, is one of the most common freon in industrial use. That is one important property. Other important property is that they are extremely stable, unreactive, non-toxic, non-corrosive, and easily liquefiable gases. That is another important property. Next we will discuss about the uses. Among the uses of freon, now what we know, they have also been used extensively as propellants. They are used as propellants for aerosol and foams to spray out the deodorants. So one important use is that it is extremely used as a propellant for aerosols and foams to spray out the deodorants, cleansers, hairspray, shaving cream. Use of freon in being reduced and banned because they are responsible for the ozone layer depletion. These are some of the uses of freon. So one important thing that we should know, that freon is actually used as such a compound which is extremely stable, unreactive, non-toxic, and non-corrosive, and easily liquefiable gases. Because of this nature, it is extensively used as a propellant for aerosol, for foams to spray out deodorants as cleaner, hairspray, shaving cream. Use of freon is been reduced and banned because they are responsible for ozone layer depletion. See, ozone layer, which is a protective layer, that gets depleted because of the use of freon. Okay children, that was all for the day. Thank you.